fortunate to chat to Renee Jordaan. Renee is the race director of the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon and the co-founder and director of Game On Event Solutions. She is also the former operations director of the Cape Town Cycle Tour and the former race director of the Comrades Marathon. In addition to this, she loves all things running and cycling. Renee, welcome.
Hi, Karina and Liesel.
It is such a privilege to have you with us, and we're looking forward to our time with you. And I think there is so many stories that you will be able to tell us, but we want to tap into some of the exciting things around the Cape Town Marathon. So let's start. As we said in our introduction, you were the race director for the Comrades Marathon and the operations director for the Cape Town Cycle Tour before starting your own business. There are so many logistical challenges in organizing these big events. What are the biggest challenge in making sure everything is seamless for race day?
I think being an event director or race director is it is a tough job. I think often you plan for months and months. All your plans to come together on race day, and you just always hope that it is executed like you've planned it. I think the secret is always to plan, and more planning, attention to detail, and then it's important to communicate your plans to all the volunteers that will be working on the day. And I think that is where one of the challenges come in, because on a smaller event, it could be a small team, but the likes of the Comrades Marathon and the Cape Town Cycle Tour and even the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, I mean, you're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 people that are working on the event. So, you need to make sure that those people all execute your plans, as you have put it in place. And I think that's sometimes where human error comes in. And I think that's part of the challenging part of the job. But most of the times, I think it's the challenges that we face are more around things that you haven't planned for, so you can execute your plans to the T and everyone does exactly what you told them. But then, day before the event, you have a storm or you have fire or you have protest action. And I think probably those are the biggest challenges of, organizing an event, is things that go wrong, which you didn't plan for. And I think that's why it's so important that you must be able to really think on your feet under high pressure situations. I mean, we saw it with the Cape Town Cycle Tour. I think it was 2014 or 15, where we had massive fires in Cape Town and our route was basically destroyed. And that was the Monday before the race. And we had to come up with an alternative plan literally in 48 hours. So those are the things that you don't plan for, but you have to come up with alternatives. And I think this year is probably similar in that, we can't have the regional race. Luckily, we don't have short notice. We've had months to come up with alternative plans, but it is about innovating and kind of just rolling with the punches as well. So I think that's kind of, to put in a nutshell, what is challenging around eventing, and especially when it comes to these big races like the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, the Comrades, Two Oceans, and the Cape Town Cycle Tour.
So Renee, for these big races like the Comrades and the Cape Town Cycle Tour, Cape Town Marathon, how far in advance do you start planning for such a big race?
Yeah, often I get asked, and it's especially when you're socializing with friends and family and new friends, and they say like, but if you're working on these big events, what do you do for the rest of the year? Because, the event's only one day. And then, it's always a good laugh about it, because the reality is that you can really plan for the event all year round, especially when you're talking about the big races. And, it's not always the logistical plans, but it starts off, a year in advance. You're working on your budgets, you're working on procurement, you're working on your marketing plans, and those things all need to be done months in advance. And then closer to the race, which is still, a good 6 months before, then you start getting into the nitty-gritty of the logistical plans and so forth. So it really, for these big events, it is a full-time job, and that's often why you would see the likes of Comrades and Two Oceans, where they actually have full-time office complement and staff that's working on the event throughout the year.
The Cape Town Marathon is the country's premier standard marathon and has achieved gold label status for at least 4 years by the World Athletics. Because of COVID-19, you decided to take the marathon online in 2020. You're offering a virtual race with various distances. You are also introducing the Cape Town Marathon 3D app, audio app. Please explain to us how the virtual race will work on the day and how people will be able to use the app.
Yeah, we are very excited about it. When we first went into lockdown, we realized that we had to look at alternatives because almost 50% of our field comes from outside of the Western Cape, and 10% of that is international travelers. And we immediately started looking at a virtual race offering, and it's been used quite often, and it's been popular in the States and in Asia before this pandemic hit us, but really only become known in South Africa once we went into the pandemic. And we thought, we want to start planning a virtual race, but we want to do something different. I mean, many of the virtual races out there is, you enter and, then you go and you run your distance probably with your smartwatch, and you just download or upload your results, and that is the virtual race. For us, we thought, virtual, there needs to be something more into this word virtual. Otherwise you're just pretty much uploading your training run. And we wanted people to experience Cape Town like they would have if they were running in the streets of Cape Town. So we came up with this concept of the app. So the app, really, the two features of the app is the live tracking and the audio. And what we've done with regards to the audio is that once you start running, wherever you are in the world, whether you in Pretoria or Bloemfontein or New York or Berlin, you'll start your race. And then as you're running and the live tracking is measuring obviously where you are, then it triggers an audio prompt. And then this voice prompt would come up. Say, for example, you 2 kilometers into your race, and it would tell you that, it's 2 kilometers into the race and you're now running on the Sea Point Promenade. And, you'll talking about the Mooly Point Lighthouse, and you'll hear the seagulls in the background and the waves crashing and a little bit of children and crowds cheering you on. And we have many of those experiences. One of the other examples we use is like 14 kilometers into the marathon, you would normally be running past City Hall. So on the virtual race, when you reach that kilometer mark, the voice prompt would come up and tell you that you've reached 14 kilometers. If you look to your right, you'll see City Hall. That is where Nelson Mandela made his first public address, and we'll play a short little snippet of Nelson Mandela's speech. And awesome. And that is like the whole experience. So we're touching on a lot of experiences and landmarks, but I think people must also understand that it's not like a computer generated voice like you would have with your GPS when you're putting in, a destination. It's a lot more personal. So we've partnered with Dalen Oliver, who's a sports journalist, commentator, and also comedian, and he's going to be delivering all these audio prompts. And he brings a bit of comedic, action into it as well, so it doesn't get stale or boring. We often say in the office, it's not a tourist app. It's still a running race. So there's lots of little audio clips where you hear the crowds cheering you on, and it sounds like you're going through halfway. We're talking about the refreshment point, and you can literally hear the crowds cheering you, the pouring of a Coke. So it really is a lot more interactive. And we're very excited about it. And then at the end of the app, once you've completed your distance, whether it's the 5, the 10, the 21, or the 42, you would be able to take a selfie, whether you're running on your own or with mates, and you'll be able to share that selfie via your social media platforms. And then after that, there's also a finish line little video that you can watch that basically cheers you on and congratulate you for having achieved the distance that you've completed. So that is what the Sanlam Cape Town Virtual Marathon experience is about.
Well, that's amazing, because I always say to Karina, she loves these virtual races, and I always say to her that if I'm going to pay 180 Rand for a race, then I want something back. I don't want to go, like you said, I don't want to go and do a training run on my own. I can do that on my own. I don't need to pay for that. But this is a whole new experience. And it's
Yeah,
amazing.
and often, I mean, we've received the question about, why must I pay the 180 rand for virtual run? And I think because people are comparing us with other virtual races, that's how they perceive it. And I think once we start telling them what they're going to be getting in the app, and the other initiatives that we are working on, we've recently announced that for the half marathon and the full marathon, we will actually give real medals as well. Because when we first launched it, we set a digital and we received feedback. And I mean, I must confess, I'm a runner myself, so I am a sucker, especially if I've run a marathon, I want a medal. I don't care about the
Definitely.
shorter distances, but if you've covered the marathon, you deserve a medal. So
Fully agree.
we changed that approach, and we in fact we've launched a little clip on social media which reveals our medal. So we're quite excited about that as well.
That's great. Karina is a medal freak, so she's very, like you can hear, very excited about that.
So she'll be excited, and it's actually a gold medal too. I'm
Oh,
giving a little bit
awesome.
away, but it is, yeah. So
Renee,
quite excited.
there are a few elites who run the race yearly, but obviously they can't come to South Africa at the moment. Is the race open to them as a race to be able to race in this virtual sphere?
Yeah, so I mean, the virtual race is open to anyone, but we have taken it a step further, and in that with Athletics South Africa, we've received their official approval as a virtual event, which not many other South African races have done. And that allows the elite athletes to then participate in the virtual race and still in a racing format. So wherever they are running, it would be official. Obviously, with the app that's tracking them, the distance and the time will be very accurate. And and they can be running wherever they are. And I think what makes it interesting this year is that you're actually not just competing with your fellow South Africans, but you're competing with a global audience. Because anyone can partake in the event because it's virtual. So there could be really some strong elite athletes from Kenya that runs in this virtual race, and it would give the South Africans a bit of competition. So I think it can make it quite exciting.
You guys have decided to introduce a 21-kilometer distance as well, which is not normally available in the actual race. Why did you decide to do that?
I mean, with the actual race, we are limited with volumes. So the focus at the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon would always be the 42-kilometer. I mean, that's the brand that we've built, the premier marathon in South Africa. And with the limitations of having people actually running there, having a venue which had limitations on with numbers, we weren't able to have a 21 in the past. And when we went onto this journey of a virtual race, we said to ourselves, but we don't have those limitations anymore, because anyone can run a half marathon anywhere in the world. So we decided to introduce the half marathon as a virtual offering. And we're actually very excited about it. We've seen that, the entries that are coming in are almost on par, always almost equal to the marathon entries coming in. So I think there was definitely a need for it. And probably also now, in the time where we weren't always able to train like we've done in the past, when we first went into complete lockdown, people couldn't do long distances. So I think it would be appealing to people that didn't get enough training for marathon, but they still want to challenge themselves. And then again, there could be the guys who's normally like more the 10K runner that could also now challenge themselves and say, well, maybe I should go for this 21 because it's a virtual race. I can plan my route that, 5Ks around my neighborhood, that I run past my house, every odd kilometer. I have the support of my family. So we're hoping that people will embrace it and take this opportunity in running a half marathon.
And the 21K is a very popular distance. It's not too far that you're knackered at the end of it, but it's just far enough so that you challenge yourself, which is great.
No, I love the half marathon distance. I always feel like that's the fun distance. The marathon is so much harder, and you really need to be focused and plan carefully. And when you're going into a marathon, I feel half marathon you can do it a little bit more for fun and not too worried about the time and the distance. Yeah.
Definitely. Renee, so you are very unfortunate every year you can't run the Cape Town Marathon because you're the race director. Are you running it this year?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I won't be able to run it on Sunday the 18th because, of course, we are working behind the scenes. And in fact, it will be a 36 day for us this year, because a 36-hour day for us this year, because the app, what we've said is that people can start anytime between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock their local time, which means the guys in New Zealand already done by the time the guys in South Africa only start with their race. And again, the Americas are only starting with their race when we are done. So for us, the team working behind the scenes, it really starts when the first guys start running globally and only end when the last guys run globally. So for us, it would be pretty much almost a 2-day event. But what I will be doing is I'll be running the demo run. So how it works is that when you download the app closer to race day, when you'll get your unique code once you've entered, it will actually prompt you to do a little demo run. And the reason for that is that we want you to optimize your phone for battery usage and GPS location tracking. And this is the one app where you do want to turn on your location tracking, because otherwise we're not going to be able to find you on the day and we can't give you results. But it basically it's engineered that makes sure your phone is on the right settings to have the best experience on race day. And it's a 5 kilometer, I call it a 5 kilometer little fun run, demo run. So you would start off, you'll set up your phone as instructed, you'll start the run, you'll start getting a bit of a sneak preview of the audio prompts, which you will get on race day. And yeah, it doesn't count towards anything, but it's just for you to have a little bit of fun and make sure your phone is set up correctly. So I'll definitely be doing the demo run. And who knows, maybe I won't be as brave as the Boston race director who runs the race after his event, but maybe the day after I will go and attempt the 21 or something like that. So
I'm very excited about it, and I was actually contemplating what am I going to do for the Cape Town Marathon, because I haven't entered yet, but it is in the planning. And originally the planning was the 21 kilometer, and then I thought, you know what, but now there's some of these virtual international races, and there's the Berlin Break the Wall, which is 3 weeks prior to Cape Town. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to do that. But I think after our conversation today, I'm really convinced that I will be entering today for.
She just wants the Berlin medal. That's all.
Liesl, I love medals. I mean, Renee.
But yeah, no, I want to encourage you to, I mean, obviously I would say it's been a slogan used a lot in this pandemic. It's like buy local, support local. So I'm going to challenge you to support local in this case and choose the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon over the Berlin Marathon. But yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic. And there's something exciting. We will be making an announcement in the next 2 weeks about something, I can't say much, but it is something that the runners, I know what runners love, and they're going to love this. And it's a bit of a gift or a surprise if they enter before a certain date. And that would be
that's exciting.
We're hoping to make the announcement, if not late next week, the following week. So we're quite excited. You'll just have to watch our social media platforms on the announcement.
Runners love any gift. So I'm looking forward to that. Renee, there's obviously lots of people that have entered for the actual race. And because of all the changes, what is happening to their entries? How does it work? Can they, if they've entered for the 42, transfer that to a 21 at this point in time? What is the status on that?
Yeah, so quite early in the lockdown, when we became aware of events being cancelled and the likelihood of the Cape Town Marathon being cancelled, we went out publicly and said that in the event that the event would be cancelled, we would give full refunds. And then about a month and a half ago, we cancelled the original event and went out and made contact with every person that had already entered for the event, all the distances, and said, through a process they could apply for full refund or donate the entry fee to a charity. And that process was concluded, in fact, yesterday, the 30th of July. So everyone that have entered received their money back, or it was donated to a charity of their choice. So We didn't do the conversion, but we're hoping that everyone that had entered the original event would go back onto our platform, onto our website, and enter for the virtual race.
Well, you've really put in a lot of effort to make this race so exciting. And yeah, if I haven't entered yet, but if I did enter for the physical race, I would definitely get transferred my entry. Renee, can the race be run on a treadmill?
So it can't. I know that there are virtual races that allows it, but because we're using GPS real-time live tracking, you won't be able to run it on a treadmill. So you really, I think, and it's maybe also a good thing that we encourage people to get outside. It is October, it's going to be nice and warm, sunrise is a lot earlier. So yeah, you have to run it outside so we can track you and we can give you the official results at the end.
And you can go get your water and your energy bar at Woolworths.
Yeah, and we are going to be distributing race numbers in advance as well. So for the 42 and 21, they will receive a race number in advance. And then for the 5 and the 10K kilometer guys can also print their own race numbers, and that's going to be your ticket to the water stations on the respective Woolies stores.
That's amazing. I love how you guys have just taken virtual races to a completely new level. Renee, you have spoken earlier that there is a specific time window that the race start, and can you tell us a little bit more about the starting times?
Yeah, so we said starting between 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock in the morning. So that means you can start at 8, you can start at 9, but as long as you don't start later than 10, because if you do that and you go onto your app, it's going to actually say you're too late. And that is between 6 and 10 local time. So, and the reason for that is that we had to give some parameters in which people need to, at least start, because we're also planning all the infrastructure, the tracking, the satellites. It becomes quite complicated, the back end, and we wanted to make sure that, we optimize that to the best of our ability for people starting between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning.
Mm. And in keeping with the times, are there any cut-off times for the different races?
Yeah, so for the marathon, it is six hours, and which I don't know if it's that lenient, because I think if you do run on your own, it may take you a little bit longer than in an actual race. Also, again, depending on how you plan your route, where you're stopping, how long you're stopping, so but it is, I think, lenient enough for you to complete your marathon in that time. And then we said, 3 hours for the half marathon. And we said an hour and a half for the 10, I think 2.5 hour and a half for the 5, and I think 3 hours for the 10. So the shorter distances are very lenient because we've geared it also towards families if they want to participate together, and kids, so that they can just walk it and enjoy the experience.
When is the closing date for the entries, Renee?
Yeah, so because it's a virtual race, we are allowing entries to be taken up until the 14th of October. So it is a lot more lenient because you don't have the logistics of, rolling out the actual event. But we do encourage runners to enter as soon as possible. There aren't any cutoffs with regards to limits. So we're going to keep on taking entries because we don't have the logistical challenges of, limiting it to 20,000 people or 10,000 people. But as I said earlier, we do have some exciting news coming next week, and there would be a limit on that gift that we're going to give runners. So if they enter within that time period, that's what they will get. If they leave it too late, they'll miss out. So we want to encourage runners and walkers all over to head over to our website and enter as soon as possible.
Well, Renee, this has been a great chat, but I have to go now because I have to go and enter. I want that gift.
That's fantastic news.
Renee, thank you very much. This was I'm really proud to say that this is a South African initiative and a South African race. It's something that no one else has done with this app and the water points and everything else. It truly is a virtual race like no other.
Thank you so much, Liesel and Karina. Yeah, we as excited, and we can't wait for the 18th of October to see how many people, show up for this virtual race. It's exciting.
I hope that it's going to exceed all expectations, and that not only runners from across South Africa, but actually globally will enter. There's a couple of people I'm going to challenge. Just a quick question. Some of the international races do send the medals, especially for the actual medals for marathon and half marathon distances. They do ship internationally. Will you guys ship internationally medals if they choose to do the 42 or the 21 kilometer?
Unfortunately not. And, the simple reason comes down to the cost. We've kept, some people may think 180 Rand is a lot, but we've kept our entry fee quite low compared to some of the international races. So, it's not a possibility for us within that budget to courier medals overseas. But we are working on a solution where it could be that, and it's not confirmed yet, but we're hoping to get to a point where if somebody internationally do want it, that they perhaps pay for the courier cost, and then it may become a possibility.
Renee, is there any last thought or something that you want to leave with anyone thinking about entering the race or any distance, something that you want to leave for them?
I think just, in closing, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to get your family and your friends involved. If, like us, when your mom, get your kids to join you on this virtual race, even if you're doing the 5 kilometers. Or for everyone that's wanting to do the 42, we haven't had many opportunities this year to run a marathon. And I'm hoping that it would be something that runners would look forward to and motivate them again, to do the longer distances. So don't miss out. You're going to be missing out on something amazing, really a world first. So be a part of it.
Definitely.
Just one last question, something that pops up for me, because normally Cape Town Marathon would have been a Comrades qualifier and a 2 Ocean Marathon, the Ultra qualifier. Will it still be a qualifier this year as well with the virtual race?
So I was wondering if you would ask it, because we are busy working on it. So again, it's a little bit more complicated than just getting permission. So because it's a technical rule and there's technical requirements to be a qualifier, we have reached out to Comrades and to Oceans, and we're on in talks with ASA. And we hope that it would be a positive feedback. We would also have that news next week. So if it is positive, it would be amazing, because it would also be the first time that a virtual race would be accepted as official qualifiers for the big ultras.
Great.
You guys are doing groundbreaking work, true pioneers. I'm so glad that was my very first marathon.
That's amazing.
Renee, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and it was great chatting with you, and we will definitely be promoting the Cape Town Marathon.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Liesel, for the chat. I enjoyed my time with you.